What up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Man, this has been a tumultuous 48 hours, if I do say, because I have never, as a fan, witnessed. I don't think we've never witnessed an off season like this, but yeah, it's been crazy. Like these last 2 days has felt like a week, um, and it's only Tuesday night, but it's about to get crazier. But anyways, guys, welcome to the show. Please hit that like button on the way in. Hit the share button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Um, let's see, Vito, any word on the quarterback search? Yes, that is going to be one of my main topics tonight, the quarterback search. Chris Gons, yes, sir. Go Canes. Welcome, welcome. Mitch, as always, welcome. Oh, Tammy wasn't banking on keeping the team because Elko ain't holding on to nothing. You are correct. Either he's not holding, either he's choosing not to hold on, or maybe he's pushing some guys out the door, or I don't know what's going on there. You would have thought a coach like Elko would have held, with his reputation so far as a head coach, he would have held on to more guys. But you know how it is. They get brought in by a certain coach, they get promised certain things, and it is what it is. But yeah. So transfer portal, lots to talk about. This thing it used to be that if you did a video like the day after or 2 days after some big news, it's like old news already. That's like ancient history. Now I literally have my phone here like refreshing the Discord, refreshing Instagram, and man, it is like by the hour. If you talk about something from 6 hours ago, now it's like old news. That's whatever. You're behind. So you got to literally be like up to the minute. But wanted to talk on the quarterbacks for a second because there's a lot of opinions being thrown out about guys that are available and people giving like their their wish lists and all that stuff. Let me tell you right out of the gate, and I've said this before, I've said it on other shows and I've said it on my show. Cam Ward is my number one, and let me refresh to see if he hasn't been picked up. I'm not. I mean, it would have been like posted to the Discord immediately if he was, but Cam Ward right now is my number one. The reason why is, yes, I know he has his flaws. I know he has the propensity to, fumble the ball here and there. And, he had a couple of bad games where he turned the ball over a lot, but for the most part, he was spectacular last year as far as his athletic ability, his ability to make every throw and his arm and all those things. Cam Ward, to me, is the guy that can create something out of nothing. He can turn, a play that you probably look at it and be like, okay, he's rolling out of the pocket, he should probably throw it away here. But no, he can like fake out a defender and go get you 15, 20 yards on the ground, or he fakes like he's going to run, then he pulls up and throws and, creates a big play like that. Or just creates a big play with his pocket presence. I've seen him evade oncoming tacklers and, spin out of stuff and, turn it into a big play. Pocket presence alone, mobility doesn't necessarily mean you take off and run for 50 yards. To me, mobility is also you have pocket presence. You can move around in the pocket, evade tacklers, throw on the run, which is a very important thing for me. So yeah, Cam's my number one right now. If that's who they end up landing, awesome. Does he also make me a little nervous? Sure. He does make me a little bit nervous, but like excited nervous. I think if he just stays within the offense and lets that monster O-line block for him and protect him, I think he'd be all right down here. I think he would click with the receivers and with Dawson, and I think they'd let him go. They wouldn't hold him back in any way. But that's just my opinion on Cam Ward. I know not everyone shares that, but that's But that's my thought on that. Will Howard, that's one I've gone back and forth on, because Will Howard, I'm going to be honest, when he's made some mistakes and throws some bad interceptions against Oklahoma State, I watched that tape specifically. And hold on, let's put something here. Let me read that. John, everyone is after, should we lock down another QB right now and be safe? I think we should land. If it were me, I would try to lock down a QB like this week. Now, as far as timetable goes, that would be me. I know Mario likes to take his time, but he should not treat this like the coordinator search. He should pick up the pace a little bit if it's just me. But I would say, yeah, I would try to land at least one of the two quarterbacks you're going to try to land one like this week, just to like make that statement. Because once you do that, then other dominoes will fall, because they'll see what quarterback we have, and they'll, other portal targets and potential recruits will see, okay, this is the type of team we're going to have next year or maybe the year after. But where was I? Sorry. Will Howard. So I looked at, whenever I watch film on a quarterback, I suggest you guys do this too, because a lot of Category 5 says, no, get your guy. I agree there should be some balance, and there should be a little bit of patience if you know you can get your guy. But you got to remember, if you miss, then 3 or 4 other quarterbacks that were on your board might be taken during that time. So you really have to be careful when you're kind of waiting for your guy. He needs to land a QB by Friday. Yeah, Raul, that's my thought. So whenever I watch film, I don't necessarily watch the highlight film, because of course that's just highlights. That's just good plays. What I try to do is I go through their schedule and see when they had a bad game, when they might have thrown a couple of picks, when the completion percentage might have not quite been there. It was kind of an off game for them. I watch that game, but I also watch a couple of their good games. I want to see them at their best as well. So I watched Will Howard's game against Oklahoma State. He threw 2 really bad interceptions in that game. I mean, really poor decisions. But he also made a couple of plays that really impressed me for a guy who's 6'5", 240, which that size alone is impressive. 6'5", 240, that guy can motor. I mean, he can go. And he is very tough to bring down once he gets going. That's why he's such a red zone threat as a runner, which is that's the thing that's most intriguing for me with Will Howard. That dual threat in the red zone, and our red zone offense could use some improving. That can definitely help. By the way, sorry guys, the lighting keeps I think the camera's auto focusing. That's why. So if it gets dim and then brightens up, sorry, I'm not the one controlling that. But yeah, but Will Howard is intriguing. So that was like his bad game, but then I watched his game against Texas. Looked very good against Texas. Looked very good throwing the ball. He was accurate. He was decisive. I think he makes good reads for the most part. He doesn't have like an absolute cannon for an arm. Like, he doesn't put the zip in there that I would like to see. But he throws a nice touch pass, beautiful touch pass, actually. And what I really like is that he throws well on the run. Just John setting the mood. Yeah, exactly. McCord gives me Tune vibes. Yeah, Clayton Tune. I was going to go into McCord also. I watched some film on him, but I was starting off kind of with my favorites. But look, Will Howard, is he a guy that I would be relatively happy with if that's who we land? Yeah, I would not be upset at all if that's who we land. I just don't think he's a perfect passer in any way, but I think his dual threat capabilities and his red zone scoring capabilities are a nice weapon, and I think would fit with this offense nicely, because it seems like he ran something in Kansas State that was more on the run heavy side. So I think him coming to our offense would translate well. And also he's experienced. And again, I said it already a minute ago, I love his size. Another dude that I looked into, Jordan McCloud is another popular name. He is not among my top guys. I'll tell you why. Jordan McCloud, I think, has a very high ceiling, but a very, very low floor. What do I mean by that? He does throw a nice deep ball. He reminds me a little bit of De'Aaron King as a runner. Good on RPOs and things like that. He's from the Tampa area, he's from the state of Florida. And yes, Birdstone says McCloud is intriguing. Yeah, McCloud is intriguing. He does have some intriguing traits, but one thing that scares me with him, I did the same thing with him. I watched a couple of good games and a couple of like not so good games of his, like on purpose. I wanted to see like both sides. And one common thread in all of them is Jordan McCloud throws into traffic a little too much for my liking. And I don't know. It's not that's not something I'm crazy about. He got lucky. He didn't throw. I don't know what his interception totals were. I thought I had it written down off the top of my head. I don't know. I think it's in the single digits, like high single digits, but it could have been more. And he was lucky that it wasn't more. So yeah, he throws into traffic a little too much. His running ability, fantastic, great speed, but not like in my top 5 or anything. 52 Big E says, give me Malik Murphy. Malik Murphy, again, very, very high upside. Very, very, very high upside. He has an absolute cannon. He's huge. And he's got great athleticism. But I got excited watching him, at Texas against who was it? Was it the same Kansas State? I want to say it was the same Kansas State game that I was watching Will Howard's, I was watching Will Howard's drives. Malik Murphy, I think in that same game, threw some nice deep balls, but oh my God, he threw some horrible interceptions. Like, who the hell are you throwing to kind of interceptions? So Malik Murphy has some time to cook still. That's a guy that's, still very raw, still very, he's got to be developed. Let's see. Rocky. Yes, the Dennis Smith tweet tonight. Unless he tweeted another tweet. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about where I think he said talking to, and then it says it was a talking to, the number 2, and an orange and green square and an eyeball emoji. Obviously, it's something cryptic. But, we'll see what happens there. I don't know if that was a bat signal or what. I definitely, talking to. In case it was a bat signal, believe me, I was refreshing my feed all the way through 8 o'clock and nothing came up. So I am expecting some good recruiting news this week. But, I'm not surprised that it wasn't tonight. But when I saw that, I was like, "Ooh, let me keep my eye on my feed through the evening," because usually like around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, like one of those hours is like at the top of the hour, something will drop. Let's see. Let me catch up on some of these comments. King Kane, hey, what's good, man? Chris Gons, John, I'm going to the Pinstripe Bowl in the Bronx, seeing us against Rutgers. I'm curious. A lot of our guys going to the transfer portal and going to the NFL draft, different team. That's the thing with these bowl games nowadays. You're going into the game so thin, but on the flip side, you also had like 4 weeks to rest. So guys that are bruised up and nicked up have a chance to heal a little bit. So that's the good side of it. But we're going in with our backup quarterback. Well, no, third string quarterback. But I will go into the bowl game towards the end. I just wanted to go through some of the quarterback stuff. Les said, I heard Rodgers is heading to Washington. Stop communication with the U. Yeah, there was definitely interest. But you know what? It's Washington. I mean, they're in the playoff. I don't think you can blame a quarterback for wanting to play for a team that caliber and that kind of offense. So we're not the only team going for a quarterback here. That's fine. Will Rogers was originally in my top 3. I would have been very happy with him. He wasn't number 1 though, but he was in my top 3. Let's see, Birdstone. Okay. For some reason, I think we end up with McCord from OSU. I know not first option, but I think he may be a Dawson type guy. So McCord, let me tell you what McCord is. McCord is a very good game manager, in my opinion. I was just right before the show, I was watching his tape specifically against who was it? Wisconsin. They had a road game against Wisconsin this year. He threw a couple of picks, again, a couple of bad ones. I don't like the decisions that he makes, at least in the couple of games that I watched. I watched the Michigan tape back, and yeah, I don't like some of the throws he makes under pressure when he's getting hit sometimes. But then again, he's also getting hit. So, like, behind our offensive line, would he get hit that much? You got to throw that question in there. Would he be getting rid of the ball a little quick? Because it's a bit of a different offense that he'd be coming to with Dawson. That's the thing. Would he fit here is what you got to ask yourself. McCord, I think, is a very high floor guy. He's not going to throw you out of a game. But, yeah, I think he doesn't have like a cannon to just get it 50 yards down the field and hit you in stride or anything. I certainly think he was helped out by Marvin Harrison Jr. a little bit, but there was some throws that he stepped in and made a tremendous throw. He did it quite a few times against Michigan, and Michigan has a great defense. So there's certainly a little bit of upside there with McCord. Not a top guy for me either, but he's a guy that if we got him, it would tell me two things. It would tell me, okay, one, we couldn't get Howard or Cam Ward. We didn't get our first or second or maybe even our third option. But we're going a very safe route now because we didn't get those guys, which might not be the worst move in the world. It's kind of like a hand you the keys to a Ferrari and please don't crash it situation. Although our roster is not yet a Ferrari. I think it's more like a Mustang right now. But by next year and even 2025, if you hand that system over and hand that roster over to a solid game manager that's not going to throw you out of a game, that makes quick decisions, gets the ball out quick, and has experience playing in big games, I think you could do worse than Kyle McCord. He wouldn't be an upgrade over TVD as far as pure ability, but he would be an upgrade as far as he's going to keep the interceptions and turnovers down, if that makes any sense. USC is on Will Howard. Yeah, a lot of people are. A lot of people are on Will Howard. QB sleeper, Curtis Rourke from Ohio, 6'5", 234, big arm and can run. Yes, I was listening to Flo talk about him earlier, and I gotta do more of a deep dive in his tape. But yeah, you're like the third person, Boone, to tell me about him, that he's got a great pedigree. I believe he has a brother in the NFL or that played in the NFL. He's coming from a small school though. So you gotta, if you go with a guy like that, you gotta get ready for the fan base to lose their minds because they want the sexy pick, and that would not be the sexy pick. That would be more of a, I don't know how many years he has left, but he has more than 1 year of eligibility. Maybe that's the second guy you take, maybe a guy you can get for a little cheaper. I wouldn't mind that. If that's your second dude, I'd be very open to Curtis Rourke, at least from what I've seen so far. Again, I got to dive into the tape a little bit more, but love what I'm hearing about him. John, what's the deal on JB? Is JB really thinking of sticking around? I do not know yet. I was gonna try to find out. I mean, if I found out, I'm not gonna say anything before JB does. I'll let him have his moment and say what he's gonna do. Yeah, so I really don't know if he's gonna be sticking around or not. I really couldn't tell you, and I don't want to speculate either. That's really the young man's business. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got in the bowl game. I was watching highlights of the Georgia Tech game from last year, and I think it could go a lot like that. I really do. Let's see. Les, what about Gabriel? Flo mentions Mendoza. What can you tell us about him? Thanks. No problem. So Dylan Gabriel, I think he already announced, or no, I don't think he committed anywhere just yet. says that it looks like he's going to Oregon, which if that's the landing spot for him, that's a hell of a landing spot. But yeah, Dylan Gabriel, I really like. He was my top 3. This is how quick things change on a daily basis. My top 3 on Sunday was Cam Ward, the guy I just said, Dylan Gabriel, and Will Howard was number 3. But if Michael Pratt jumped into the portal, which I still don't know what he's going to do, if Michael Pratt jumped into the portal, he'd jump to number 3 for me. But he hasn't, so we're just talking portal guys. Since then, it's shuffled, and Dylan Gabriel looks like he knows where he's going to head. At least that's what it seems like. But Dylan Gabriel, he is a lefty. To me, that makes no difference. To some people, it does. I don't know why. Very mobile, a lot more athletic than you would think. Super intelligent. I think he's going into his 6th year now, so he's mature. You would only have him for 1 year, which really you need him for a stopgap. That's all you need. And the dude has won a ton of football games. And it's not just because, he's Mr. Winner guy. He game manages you to a lot of W's against bad teams. No, he has played on the big stage. Look at his game against Texas. Okay. He did it on the ground. He did it through the air. He made a ton of very accurate throws and a ton of, throws where he had to make a quick decision where he was going to run and stop and then throw and, kind of read and react to what the defense was showing him. I was very impressed with what Dylan Gabriel did this season with Oklahoma's offense. And I think he would have weapons to throw to here. He would play behind a good offensive line here, a good running game here. And I think he's a guy that would be allowed to improvise a little bit, much like Cam Ward would be. So Dylan Gabriel's one that I really liked. What was the other one? Oh, Mendoza. I don't think Mendoza has officially, he has not hit the portal. So I don't want to speculate on whether he's going to or not. But I know that's a name that's been thrown around that, if he does, would you look at him? Let me tell you, I've watched a little tape on Mendoza. And because he's more of an under the radar guy, I'm going to really study what he does. And I love what I see from Mendoza so far. That's my sleeper, like, dark horse pick, honestly. Again, if he were to become available, I don't know if he will. There's rumors that he might. We'll see. But Mendoza, being a Columbus guy, of course, I'm talking Fernando Mendoza. I think Fernando, right? Yeah, Fernando Mendoza from Cal is the guy that everybody refers to. He's 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", 220, big kid, big arm. One thing I noticed from him is he's very decisive, very, very decisive. Look, it just looks like making the good read is natural for him. He doesn't stop to hesitate or think. It's just the ball's out. He hits the receiver and you're like, oh, that was, because sometimes, you're watching on TV and you're like, you can kind of see on the edge of the screen guys that might be open. Like, oh, he's going to give it to that guy. And then he hits another guy in stride off the screen that you wasn't even aware that was there. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that was the better read. Look how open he got. That's Mendoza. Very smart kid too. And being a Columbus kid, if Mario wanted him, I think there would be an opportunity there. But again, I don't think any news has come out about him. That one's a very big, like, what if he was to hit the portal, will we go after him? If it were me, I would. Let's see. Yes, Birdstone, that's a good point. And I wanted to touch on this. None of these QBs are perfect gets. There's no Caleb Williams in there. There's no, potentially Cam Ward maybe has that kind of ceiling, but aside from that, there's no future first rounder in there. But there's a guy that you can grab in there. There's a handful of guys that you can grab out of the portal and you're like, you know what, we can win 10 games with this guy next year. There's definitely that guy, but you got to pick the right guy and it's got to fit to what you're doing. And very important for me, 2 things. Some kind of a dual threat and don't turn the ball over. Those are the most important things for me. Let's see. Got a question about the running backs. Joel says Parrish, Fletcher, Johnson, Riley, Wheatley, Humphrey, and Trevante. That's 6 backs. What ends up happening there? What ends up happening here? And rank this room, please. Oh, would love to. Gladly. This is maybe our most loaded room. One of our most loaded rooms, because wide receiver and defensive end next year are going to be stacked. Can't wait. We're going to finally have multiple positions with depth next year. Now is when you're going to start to see layers of talent in certain areas, and I'm very excited about it. And running back is one of them. So Parrish, Fletcher, John. Well, first of all, if I was to rank these guys, and by the way, Joel, we're also going after Jordan Lyle still. That hasn't, we haven't taken our foot off the gas there yet. I would right now put, I would put Fletcher number 1, Henry Parrish number 2, just because Trevante hasn't stepped on the field and proven it yet. Talent-wise, Trevante's 2 or 1, but Fletcher is RB1 going into next year with Henry Parrish, like kind of that change of pace scat back right behind him. You got Chris Johnson, who, because of his speed and just elite game-breaking speed, is a guy that can maybe compete for that second spot, but, he's got to get in there, bulk up a little bit. He's got to learn how to block, because if you don't know how to block, sorry, you're not playing running back for a Mario Cristobal coach team. This is not going to happen. But he's versatile. That's somebody you can maybe use spread out wide and use him there on third downs. But assuming Johnson develops into like a decent blocker and all that stuff, that's a guy that can maybe jump into the number 2 spot. You got Parrish, although they love Parrish. I think that's the number 2 spot is his job to lose. Then you got Kevin Riley, who's all but reaffirmed his commitment to Miami. That's huge. I think that guy's a monster. He's a potential superstar, in my opinion. And then Chris Wheatley Humphrey, who I've said is criminally underrated, also has elite game-breaking speed, just like Chris Johnson does. And then you got Trevante. And then possibly a 7th with Jordan Lyle. And that's not even including, I don't know if AJ Allen has announced anything, but you still have him. Someone's going to leave. There's too many guys there. But 6, you give me those 6, we're good. We're good on depth. And guys are healthy, because we had Trevante later this year, but he wasn't quite healthy. And then and they were like, yeah, he's available, but he's not quite ready yet, which I understand. To get your timing and your instincts back and your quickness back, that takes a little time. But I love that room. I don't think any of the names you mentioned there, Joel, are going to leave or decommit or anything. I think Wheatley, Humphrey, and Riley, they're coming on board. Trevante, I think there's no reason for him to go anywhere because he hasn't put any tape out there yet. It's just pure potential at this point. I think he sticks around to see if he can prove what he can do. And, a combo of Fletcher, Trevante, and Parrish, or Fletcher, Parrish, Johnson, that could get fun. Let's see. I do not want McCord's dad trying to control everything, wants to guarantee the son will start. Yeah, I have heard that about his dad. Citizen Brown, Fletcher, and shotgun. Please stop that behind our O-line. Insane playbook. I would love to see 2 of those backs on the field at the same time in certain passing downs. Let's see. Birdstone says, if that Dennis Smith tweet is an indication of CJ Bailey, I'm a little less pressed about this QB situation as far as the portal. Got it. What are your guys? Give me your thoughts on CJ Bailey, because I'm curious to what you guys think. Like what the consensus is overall. Is he a guy that you want to bring in and you want him to compete? That you think he can compete for eventually a starting job, eventually some playing time in the coming years as a quarterback here? You guys let me know. John, any young QBs that interest you? When you say young QBs, Birdstone, you mean like like out of high school QBs or just young in general? Like it could be a portal guy that's maybe like a freshman or something. I think we going hard at Ward. He dropped the top 6, 7 tonight, and we're in it. All right. Let's see what else. What else? A lot of people brought this name up. I still want Blake Shapen from Baylor. I liked the clips I saw. I know Flo actually turned me on to him a while back, and there's something there with Blake Shapen. I think that's another kind of sleeper that I wouldn't completely write off. Again, got to do more homework on him because Baylor was bad this year. I think if I remember correctly, he had 13 touchdowns and only 3 picks this year, but his completion percentage was like doo gaga. But that's why I got to look into it. Like, what was the context? Was his O line just complete Charmin ultra soft toilet paper that he had zero time to throw? Did he have terrible receivers? Were the 3 interceptions like through the receiver's hands and into the safety's hands? Like, you got to look at this stuff. I don't know. Stats don't always tell the whole story. Let's see. Oh, I saw that this kid Overton also hit the portal. That's an intriguing one because he was like the number 1 recruit, one of the top recruits in the nation a couple years ago. Lagaway would be a karma guy punch to UF for Rashada. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lagaway, I agree. Lagaway is a stud. I like him. Yeah, Florida is in trouble right now. I really hope we take care of business on August 31st. We have that game to me is a must win just because of the situation Florida's in. You got to take advantage of that and get the W. Definitely hope Matt Lee stays, as do I. Although I don't think our O-line is in trouble by any means if he leaves. Look who you got behind who's leaving. Look, you got, let's say all 3 leave, Matt Lee, Javion Cohen, and Jalen Rivers. Okay, you got Maui Noah and what's his name? Inez Cooper. Maui Noah and Inez Cooper coming back. Those guys are all ACC, All-American caliber linemen coming back next year. One's a junior, one's a sophomore, so they still have time left here. You probably go have to get a portal center. Okay, fine. That's one position you got to go figure out. Left guard, you got options. You got McCoy that you can slide in. You got Pancake. You got Tommy Kinsler, although I think he's more of a tackle. He's huge, massive human being. Markel Bell, who you brought in from the JUCO, or you will be bringing in from JUCO, he'll play tackle. He might figure into the rotation, but with those 4 guys that I just mentioned, I think you'll figure out left tackle and left guard pretty easily. I see Matthew McCoy starting at guard next year, or at least starting, period. He's either going to be a guard or a tackle. McCoy is starting next year. I think he's that good because when he came in, when guys were nicked up, there was absolutely no drop off. And yeah, I like our O-line next year no matter what. I love who we're bringing in. And then, of course, you got guys like Tinalau and the kid that was like committed to Harvard or something, Franco Villa or something like that. There's so many names in my head, I can't keep them all together. You know who I'm talking about. He's in the class this year. Derek Plaz, you got who else? Antonio Tripp, who's like a future center. He's like that kind of mold. We've got bodies. We got talented bodies. O-line, I think you'll never have to worry about here. But if Matt Lee goes, you will have to go get like a 1-year rental at center. And then after that, I think we're fine. Have you seen, thank you, King Kane. Yes, I have seen Dayquon Finn. I have seen his tape. I watched a couple of like condensed games of his. You know, he has his pros and cons. The ball sails on him every once in a while, although overall, if I remember his stat line correctly, his interception total was low for the year. I think he threw like 5 for the year or something. He was like 24 touchdowns and 5 picks, something like that. What I notice about him that I would say is special is his elusiveness, the way he evades tacklers and guys are. I mean, he he jukes pass rushers like out of their jockstrap. It's really funny to see sometimes. I've seen him spin out of tackles where I thought, oh, he's done. They got him dead to rights, and he spins out. He's on the run, and then he stops and he loops one over the defense. Perfect stride. He throws a pretty deep ball. You got to remember though with Dayquon, that's Jason Candle that he's coming from. That is very much a system that is quarterback friendly. I also saw a lot of he did rack up a lot of yards where like a running back was schemed wide open over the middle, that kind of stuff that really makes it easy for the quarterback. So there's pros and cons with all these guys. That's one of the cons. But he has the ability to create. And that's another one that I'm like, okay, I wouldn't hate it. I would not hate it. Dylan gives you 3,000. Yeah, he's automatic. No, I love Dylan Gabriel. Nino Franco, that's his name. Nino's his first name. Speaking of centers, have y'all saw Nino, our future center? He's bigger than Matt Lee right now, and that Artavius Jones. Oh my God, he makes LT look light. I'm going to talk about both those guys for a second because I remember seeing Nino's tape back when he committed, and I heard, very intelligent is what I kept hearing about him, but my God, he's big. Like the way he plays with a mean streak. Even on plays where he's like in pass protection and he has nobody to hit and the guard is like engaged with a D tackle, he'll go over and help that guard and knock that D tackle on his butt. He's just looking to hit somebody, but he does it in a smart way though. Like he'll take out a dude and then he'll stay looking downfield. You can see him barking signals to the O-line. He's very much like a general on that O-line. So I do like that kid a lot. I think that was definitely one of those under the radar, like Mirabal found him somewhere because that guy does relentless homework on linemen. I will never question a player eval from Coach Mirabal or Coach Cristobal, especially at that position. So I like Nino a lot. He just may need a year or two. And then Artavius Jones, that I tweeted a couple days ago that dude is one of the gems of this class. It's getting dim again. Sorry. I tweeted I retweeted one of his tweets that he's one of the gems of this class because Artavius Jones hasn't even nearly hit his ceiling yet of what he can be. He's still, even with what he does, even with the insane power and insane speed Artavius Jones has, he's still like kind of learning how to play football. He just has elite raw ability. And I know he's either into, I think he's into powerlifting or something like that. Like he got into that in high school. Also very raw at that as well. But he throws up those weights like it's a toy. It's like powerlifting or Olympic lifting, something like that. And he just makes it look ridiculously easy. He's freakishly strong, freakishly quick. I see him run down receivers and running backs, like going sideline to sideline. Artavius is a beast. And, you're getting him and Justin Scott. Oh, well. And Dalen Russell, who I'm also excited about. You'll see why when he steps on the field. That dude is another one who's criminally underrated. We seem to find those guys. Let's see. If you had to guess, how much money do you think Canes Connection has to work with for the whole roster and recruiting? Green Tree, I have no idea. And if I did, I don't think I would want to throw that number out there. But I will tell you this, and I know this for sure from people I've talked to, that it is a pretty sizable number. And to be able to sign the class that we're bringing in, right now we have the number 5 class in the country. I know that's kind of being overshadowed by transfer portal time. But we got the number 5 class in the country. And signing day is 50. I mean, today's pretty much over. 14 days away, essentially. In 2 weeks, we're going to be able to sign like most of this class. And you're going to need some funds because as you know, you're going to need some NIL funds just for that class alone. That's not even including the transfer portal guys that you're going to bring in. That's not including the quarterback that you're going to bring in, which is that's not cheap. So yeah, it is a sizable number. And I know as far as like collectives and stuff like that, we may not be like number one, just dominating everybody, but we're up there. We're like we're in that top tier as far as like competitiveness when it comes to like NIL opportunities. We are up there. I will say that without giving out a number or anything like that. Let's see. Dylan Gabriel is not a real option. He already scheduled his OV with the Ducks. I mean, OV doesn't necessarily mean he's for sure going. I mean, he's likely going, but I know he's interested if he's taking an OV, but that doesn't mean he's off the table. You never know. Has recruiting taught you nothing? Yeah, but it looks like he's leaning that way. But man, if he decides not to go with Oregon, oh my God, you jump all over him. I love that dude. QBs, I'd be really excited if they entered. Pratt and Mendoza, yep, same. Aiden Childs, yeah, that's the is he Oregon? No, he's not Oregon State. No, he is Oregon State. I forget what team he's from. Yeah, that's one that I honestly have not done much research on. There are only so many hours in the day, folks. I really I wish I could do this as a job. That'd be really cool. But no, I need a little bit more time to look at his tape. I know he's rated like number 1 or number 2 of the available quarterbacks, but then again, transfer portal ratings are still extremely flawed. I don't think they do a great job with those evals because, like I just said, there's not enough time or manpower to do it. Let's see. Let's see. Joel says, do we really need a QB from the portal? If you look at the teams in the playoffs, are any of them starting QBs from the portal? It's the best developed through recruiting. That's a good point. That's a good point. Valid. However, Joel, the last 3 to 4 years, really since like COVID, because that's around the time the transfer portal started to really become a thing. That was when we landed De'Ara King and, Bubba Bolden and all those guys. Miami became like transfer portal U. Then everybody started doing it. So really in the last 3 years is when all this like looking for a QB in the portal became a thing. And this year it's just an ever evolving game. So it's not what it was a few years ago. So all this, finding a new QB in free agency, essentially, I think that's just going to be a thing moving forward, to be honest with you. That's now that it's a viable option for guys. And I think some changes need to be made to it because it's a little too crazy. What's happening right now is not sustainable. I don't think it can continue this way. You got to put some restrictions on it or else, it's absolute chaos every year. And again, this is just 48 hours in. But anyway, back to the point. 2-3 years ago, yeah, I mean, all the playoff teams, yeah, they recruited their guy a couple of years ago. But since then, the game has changed. Now, look, Ohio State lost their guy to the portal. They got to go find somebody. FSU, they lost Jordan Travis for the year. And he's gone after this year. So they got to go find a portal QB because the guys that they have, they're not ready. They're by no means ready to step in and take them back to the playoffs next year. Absolutely not. And by the way, I have to comment on one thing. Yes, I did say that maybe FSU has a chance of making the game close against Georgia. I don't know who spiked Mike Afasito that night, but that was that was a poor take by me. I take that one back. That I don't see them scoring more than 10 points on that Georgia defense. But yeah, this is how things are now, Joel. Let's see. I don't want a young guy out of the portal. I'd be fine with a young guy out of the portal if he's willing to sit. Because if we're going portal, I want a veteran. Let's see, John. What was you saying? There's a lot of QB. John, from what you are saying, there's a lot of QB tied to teams? You or no one else has tied any QB to the U? I'm getting worried. You got to remember. Well, actually, no, we have. Miami's very much in talks with guys. I don't want to divulge too much, but I know they are. I mean, Cam has come out and said it. We're in like one of his top teams that are going after him. That's public knowledge at this point. We very much are going after Cam Ward. So, it's maybe no one has like said, oh, the U is like my number one favorite right now. It's because we're going after the elite guys that everybody wants. So that's going to take a little more time. If we wanted to settle, and not that this guy is settling, I'm just throwing a name out there. Blake Shapen, let's say. I think he'd be a nice option. He's got some good tools, but I don't think the top schools are like breaking his door down to sign him. If we wanted to be, that's our guy. We can go get him. We can go get him tomorrow. I'm not saying that's the case with Blake Shapen. I'm just saying this is an example. Or Dayquon Finn, the kid from Toledo. We can go down to the lower levels, guys that aren't getting like tons of offers thrown at them, and go for one of those guys. Go more under the radar guy. We can get one of those guys probably right now, but they're shooting for the top of the top. The most realistic option is Jordan McCloud. Yeah, I talked about Jordan McCloud earlier. No, yeah, I don't. I don't. There's too many flaws there. Throws into double coverage and traffic a little bit too much for my liking. Great athlete. Throws a pretty deep ball, but this was his first good year, really statistically. He has not looked good until this year. I don't know. I'm iffy with that. That would not even be in my top 5, honestly. Mitch said it great here. We need a generic QB who's somewhat mobile and not dumb. That's why, like a Will Howard, I'd be good with that. Penix is a transfer. Ewers. Great point. Faith Family Football. Thank you. I was trying to think of more examples to give to Joel earlier. Penix is a transfer, true, and he's a Heisman candidate. Ewers is a transfer. I forgot about that. I forgot that Quinn Ewers wasn't originally a Texas guy, but he's a stud. Jordan Travis was a transfer. Bo Nix is a transfer. Thank you. I appreciate it. I knew there was more. I was getting stuck. Will Harris, who do you think we get next in the portal, and who do you think is a flip? I'll tell you positions. I think in the portal, the next one we announce will be our quarterback. I think it's going to be sometime this week. I don't think we're going to waste too much time. This is something, it's happening so fast and it's such a whirlwind. I think even someone like Mario who takes his time with these things knows, okay, I can't waste too much time here. I got to make a decision. And I'm sure people are in his ear telling him that. It's not just him. And also the next flip. The next flip, I think, is on the D-line. I was between D-line and corner, D-line and DB before, but I think it's on the D-line. That's just my gut feeling, if I'm reading the tea leaves here. Everyone is overlooking Citizen. I'm not overlooking him. I know how good he is. I like Fletcher. Brother, where is Citizen? Johnson is the only one with game-breaking speed. I wouldn't. I think Chris Wheatley-Humphrey. If you're talking guys coming in as well, Chris Wheatley-Humphrey has that. And Trevante, he might have that game-breaking speed too. I have to see it. He might be the back with the highest ceiling still. Don't forget Allen at running back. No, haven't forgotten about him. Well, I apologize. I'm speeding past a lot of comments here. Oh, Kenneth Lopez. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the $20 dono. He's better than any QB on our roster. Think Jacob Harris with a stronger arm. He's accurate, tall, can run. When you say check, you mean Ja'Cory Harris? I'm assuming you're talking about when I asked about CJ Wilson earlier. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. But if it is, yeah, there's a lot of comparisons, a lot of similarities between him and Ja'Cory Harris. He can run and used to working with South Florida speed and on defense and offense. All right, what's up with Achimpong? He needs time to cook. He needs time to develop. By the way, guys, 250 in the chat right now. Please hit that like button. I appreciate you guys dropping in to talk some off-season insanity. Let's see. I want Jeremiah in this class, but John, I'm apprehensive about getting him since Mario has made it obvious that he wants our offense to resemble Michigan's. What do you think? I think that whole offense to resemble Michigan's, didn't he make that comment more last year? When he wants to be more of like a power running team, but he showed that he's at least willing to try new things when he brought in Dawson. And the way I saw that offense run early in the season and at the end of the season against Louisville and Boston College, it certainly didn't look much like Michigan's offense. So I'm not too concerned about that part. I think Mario is trying to change. Old habits die hard, but I think he is trying to change and trying to update his offense. But the only thing if let's say you land Jeremiah, you have to win pretty quickly. You have to start winning some games. I'm not saying a championship or even make the playoff, but you got to start getting like double-digit wins within that first year. Because if you don't, a guy like him might not be too happy. You got to start taking care of business and winning games you should win, which with this upcoming schedule next year should be like at least 9 or 10 games. I don't see many losses on that schedule if we bring in a good quarterback and with the roster we're going to have, we're going to have a lot of wins next year. Take advantage, win games, and also feed him the ball. Get him involved in the offense. Jeremiah, that's a guy that Jeremiah's in the rotation day one. He is playing right away. He's getting snaps. You might start him off with like 10 snaps, 15 snaps a game, and then as he goes establishing himself, by the end of the year, Jeremiah might be like, Mark Fletcher. He might be, or by like Reuben Bain, he might be starting by the end of the first season. But you got to get a guy like that. You got to get him playing time early, and you got to win. Otherwise, he's not going to be happy, and he might bounce. Louisville has their quarterback. Yeah, I saw that. Tyler Show from Texas Tech. Yeah, so TVD, who I thought would have been a great fit with Jeff Brom, he will not be going to Louisville, it looks like. Then there's the possibility that, he's not one of my top picks also. That is Tua's brother. He's not bad, but that's not who I want. That's like, we got him. Oh, I guess. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't be crazy about that. Achimpong's still developing. He only played football. Yes, he only played football for a few years. And he reminds me a lot, like his physique and the way he moves and stuff reminds me a lot of Calais Campbell. He has a similar build, similar length to him, 6'7.5", whatever he is. Still needs to put on weight. But Achimpong, by next year, he might figure into the rotation. You never know. Remember, that's a guy that Michigan had him committed at one point. Let's see. Okay. Thank you for okay. King, we got Booker Pickett. Let's see. Someone clear this up for me. Russell's listed as 235 on 247. What is he actually? I think he's hovering around that 260 mark, honestly. He's way more than 235. Ohio Hurricane, thank you, sir, for the $10 dono. Love the show, buddy. Go Canes. Thank you. Appreciate it. we go after the Louisiana Tech wide receiver. Yeah, there's a few talented wideouts there. I think we do go try one like premier playmaker to try to be like that number one guy because we still don't have a true number one. I think the room made some serious strides this past season and was good. I think a wide receiver play was solid this year. Some room for improvement still, but if you could still plug in a number one and this room could take off. Are we higher than FSU in NIL? I don't know. I would like to think yes. Last 2 years, I guess results speak for themselves, but hey, they've killed it in the portal. So we're competitive. I would say that. Yeah, I saw something about Patrick Payton maybe hitting the portal. I know Payton is a guy that we were going after. I think coming out of high school a couple of years ago. Yeah, that's a dude that we lost that recruiting battle, but look how he played this year. That kid's a stud. I actually like Patrick Payton a lot as a player. I think we'll bring in Samuel Okunlola. I think so too. He's the older brother of Samson Okunlola, Pancake. I read his stat line. I think he had like 5 sacks and 6 TFLs and like 20-something tackles, something like that. Not bad for like a rotational guy. I think those were like just 1-year stats too. So that's not bad. And you're missing a little bit of depth and experience at the DN position. You are getting Nigel Kelly back, and you're going to have a ton of talent, a lot of young elite talent, but you need to plug in a veteran or two in there just for depth. And just for a guy, and just for, someone who could maybe start those first few weeks, let the young guys acclimate. Let's see. Rocky, I don't think Brashard Smith, Jacoby George, or Restrepo stick at post bowl. Restrepo, after the season he had, he was first team all ACC. I could see him going to the league, actually. I honestly think he's good enough. And Brashard Smith, I wish we would have gotten him more touches and gotten him more involved. I hope we get him involved in the bowl game. I think we will. I really hope we get him involved in the bowl game because he's such a weapon. I would love to see him stick around. If he doesn't, we got some speed coming in, so it's not like the worst thing in the world. But I hope he sticks around because I really like Brashard Smith. Jacoby George, I don't see him bouncing like to the portal. I would hope not. Jacoby had his best year so far. He had like almost 800 yards receiving. He had a couple of, in our biggest games, like our most high profile game, he had his best games against FSU and against Texas A&M. I would love to see Jacoby stay, and I think he would benefit from one more year under Kevin Beard. I think he knows that. And I think he's got a good relationship with Kevin Beard as far as I know. I think Jacoby, if he comes back next year, he has a chance, if he keeps on the trajectory that he's on, to be a 1,000-yard guy, or at least a 900-yard receiver, maybe 9 or 10 touchdowns next year. He could really have a great season for us next year and be drafted in like first couple of rounds in that draft. But as far as the draft, I don't think Jacoby's quite ready yet. He could improve his stock so much more. I would hate to see him go too early. All right, guys, it is 9:01. Let me see if I can get one more question in real quick. Man, you guys are flying these comments in. Wow. Yes, smash that like button, family. Thank you, sir. If we get Mendoza, are we starting him? Mendoza's a young dude. Again, if he were to hit the portal, someone like Mendoza would be someone I would think would sit. But he's an interesting one because I think he has the ability to start. He played as a freshman this year, freshman or redshirt freshman, whatever year he was for Cal this season, and looked very good, in my opinion. And he'd be coming back home. You know what I'm saying? So He's an interesting one. He could be either. Peyton in the portal now. Is Mesidor coming back? As far as I know, yes, he is. I haven't heard anything different. I believe Mesidor is coming back. He was hurt this year. I think he has one more year of eligibility left. Him and Nigel E. Kelly on the ends would be fantastic. You're looking at a very solid defense this year, talent wise and depth wise and all those things, because you got Nigel Eek and Mesidor on the ends and great depth behind them. You got, hopefully, Kiko stays. You got your Mike linebacker. If not, you got some stud young linebackers. I'm not too worried there. We'll probably go get one portal guy and we'll be good at linebacker. D tackles, got to go get some portal guys. But the young guys, Justin Scott, Dalen Russell, happy there. And your two starting corners, if hopefully Damari sticks around. You got Damari Brown on one side, and you got Daryl Porter on the other side. That is a hell of a tandem. Okay? Imagine that. What's up with brothers? Are they about to hit it? I haven't heard anything about them possibly hitting it. Could that change? Maybe, but I have not heard anything as of yet, and I think that's one of those good no news is good news situations. But yeah, Daryl Porter and Damari next year as your starting corners, and Nigel Leak and Mesidor as your starting ends. Those are, in my opinion, the two most important positions on defense. And while you may be losing a Cam and a James at safety, you've got studs on the ends and studs at corner. So I'm feeling pretty good. And that's not even, I didn't even mention Ruben Bain. So I'm pretty happy. Damari's a starter, Wiley. That's what I'm saying. The only explanation, Birdstone, would be he wants to follow his brother where he might go if his brother decides to leave. I haven't heard anything there. All right, guys. It's now 9:04. I got to log off. But anyways, thank you guys for listening. We're an hour and 2 minutes in, 2:35 in the live chat. If you haven't, please again hit the like button. Go follow me on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. John, I wish I could keep talking honestly for another 2 hours. But John, don't, man, I'm getting 2 don't leaves. Pull a 4 back. Listen, I will be on again. You know what? I'll do this again Thursday. How about that? I'll be on again Thursday. I know the Miami Mayhem guys do 8 o'clock on Thursday, so I'll do 7, maybe 7:30. I'll do a quick live. And yeah, no, the offseason has become more crazy than the actual season itself. So I'm going to be on here a lot for these next couple of months and probably until August. Why not? Anyways, go Canes. Have a good night. Take care, guys.